I know what you're thinking. Hasn't Jeff already reviewed these battery backup light bulbs? And yes is the answer. This is actually the Jackonlux battery operated light bulb that I reviewed not that long ago. Well, the company has come out with a new version, and so they actually reached out to me and sent me these to test out. So let's do a quick unboxing because they tell me there are some sweet new upgrades. Let's check it out. There are actually two different types of bulbs, so I only really unboxed two of them. We have the 3000K bulb right here on my left and the 5000K bulb right here on my right. And the difference is this one on my right is that really bright daylight. Let's see if it has a charge. Yep, there it is. And then this side is that softer light. So what I want to do is I actually want to compare it to the original Jackonlux bulb that I reviewed to see the differences, and then there's one other feature we'll show you. The first thing we notice is the tip or the bulb top here is much smaller on the new version than the old version. I remember this one had a hard time fitting into some lamps and such, so that's a cool feature. I also notice it seems almost like vents are cut into the sides here of the new bulb as compared to the old one. One weird difference is the old one actually says Jackonlux. And you see it right there, where the new one doesn't say Jackonlux on it at all. In fact, the box doesn't say Jackonlux either. That's kind of strange to me. Anyway, let's show some of the other things and we'll test it out. Each bulb came with one of these socket ends where you can actually just use the bulb as a standalone. One click turns the bulb on high. If I click it off and turn it back on, now it actually turns on 50% power, and that is an upgrade because now I can actually use these bulbs longer. We're actually told that if I hold it here on the bright setting, it'll run for 3 hours, and the dim setting or the 50% setting will run for 6 hours. We will test those things out. Then of course there's this end piece which you really are just supposed to push the end of your lamp into, and all that does is connect a circuit, so when you flick the switch of your lamp it actually will light up, because without it these battery operated bulbs do not work, and all that does is connect the circuit inside. There are two main ways that you can charge these bulbs. One of them is just plugging it into a lamp, turning it on. When it's on, it's actually charging, and the directions tell us it can take anywhere between 10 and 13 hours to charge. The other way of charging is a little more complicated to get to. You're supposed to just, they tell you to real quick flick that switch, and you can see how the red light turned on, and now it's charging as well. I will say sometimes when I flick the switch real fast, the light turns on, so I had to do it a few times before it'll actually work. And then once this is done charging, it'll be green. I like the idea of this upgrade where you're notified if it's charging or full. I just wish it was down here on the bulb itself where I could see if it's charging or if it was full, because if this light was on, I would have no idea the level of charge that this battery has. I mean, realistically, I don't know the level of charge it has now unless it's green. So in my opinion, it would be much better to have some sort of a battery indicator down here. Welcome back to another Jeff Reviews for you. And you know what? I think that these battery backup light bulbs are really, really cool. But you know what? Enough talk about them. Let's get back to the review. We've charged our bulbs to full and we want to test them on the dim mode. So of course I'm gonna turn it on, turn it off, and turn it back on to put it into dim mode. We'll do that to both sides. And then we'll turn the lights off in here just so you can see. You can definitely see things and they do light up pretty well. So what I'll do is I'll keep track of these, check in a few hours to see how we're doing, and we'll keep you updated. Here we are at the 3-hour mark, and you know what? I'm still impressed. These lights are still on now, albeit there's not enough light coming from these bulbs to light up an entire room, but you can still see, and that is pretty impressive. We will continue checking in over the next few hours just to see what things are looking like, but like I said, I am pretty impressed with what I can see now. I wanted to see what this bulb would look like against another light bulb that is completely charged. So let's turn that one on. We'll put it in the dim mode, and you know what? As we're looking at it, they actually look pretty much the same. Maybe it's a little brighter, but it's still interesting how well they're doing. We'll continue checking in on these to see when they start getting dimmer. We have reached the 6-hour mark for both bulbs. You can see that the soft bulb here on my right and the daylight bulb are still lit, although they are not as bright as they were at the beginning. I will say that the daylight bulb, or the 5000K, is still a lot brighter than that of the 3000K or the softer bulb. Although they're still on, I'm going to end the test here. You can see that I do have stuff over across the room that you could barely see. Let me show you what a fully charged version looks like. So here we are on the dim setting, just like the other one. You can see there's a huge difference in the light. Yes, it's still on, but it's not something you're going to use to light your room. Now we're going to charge these. I've let the bulbs run completely dead. So what we're going to do is we are actually going to put them in the chargers and then turn it on so they're glowing red. And so we are going to do a complete timeline to see how long it takes to charge these up. Took a few clicks. Now we're both glowing red. I'm going to set the timer and we'll let you know how long it takes for them to go from red to green. Here we are charging. These two, of course, just have the red light on charging. This one is charging while it's on. Like I said before, I kind of wish that there was an indicator light on the base of the bulb or somewhere else other than up here to let me know that it's charging. The reason I have this one on, however, is because I noticed that this bulb is getting warm. I'm going to let this stay on for about an hour or so, and I'll give you a temperature reading. Starting from the bottom up, you can see down here, 74, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. As we move up, about halfway, we get to right about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's the temperature of a typical incandescent light bulb. Let's keep going up to the top. You see we've reached 151 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 65 or 66 degrees Celsius, and that is very hot. That being said, before you go and throw away all of your emergency bulbs, a typical LED bulb can get up to about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, which is also hot, so just something to have in the back of your mind. Don't touch these if you've just turned them off. I am going to leave this bulb on just so I can get some temperatures over time, but just in case you're wondering, the temperature of the bulbs that are charging that are not on, just the red light, around 77, 78 degrees Fahrenheit, which is right around 24 degrees Celsius. So this is interesting. It's been 13 hours and 10 minutes. You can see that one of the lights have turned to green and the other one is still charging, but it does show you that when it's done charging, well, it turns green. We'll see how much longer it takes for this one to fully charge. It took an additional 30 minutes for the one here on the right to fully charge. I should have said the one here on the right was the very bright daylight bulb, and this one here is the more soft bulb. So what we're going to do now is we're going to set up a test and just show you what it looks like in the event of a power outage. I almost forgot. We still had this one on, and I have been checking the temperature over the time that these have been charging, and I have not gotten above 150 degrees Fahrenheit. When I first reviewed these battery backup bulbs, either the E-bulb or the Jackonlux, I had people reach out and say, hey, listen, I put these in my light fixture, and when I turned the light off, lo and behold, it turned back on and the power wasn't even out. What's going on? The fact of the matter is these type of battery backup bulbs do not work in lights with multiple fixtures. Let me show you what it looks like when I turn these lights off. As you saw, the battery backup immediately clicked back on, and that's because the wiring in these type of lights finds a route or a potential route that it feels as though the power is actually off when all you did was turn off the switch. So tell me, what are your thoughts of these emergency battery backup light bulbs? Are they something you would have? Would you consider it? Let me know down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. I want to demonstrate this in two ways. As you can see, these two bulbs are green, the ones on the sides. I just finished charging those all the way up. The one in the middle is just a regular LED bulb. So when I shut the power off here, that is the one that should go off. And let's see what happens when these two are green right now. So they're in the charging mode. Let's turn this off. You see how the one in the middle turned off and the other two emergency bulbs turned on immediately, even if they were in the charging mode. That's pretty cool. We turn it back on, of course, they all stay on. Here we have the lights on. What we're going to do now is we'll simulate our power outage. And of course, you saw the one that does not have the battery turned off. The other two blinked, turned right back on because they sensed the power outage. And this is what you should expect if you have these battery-powered bulbs installed in a fixture that's just a single light. Of course, then, if the power comes right back on, just like before, all the lights will be on. In this video, we are taking a look at Jackonlux's newest battery backup light bulb. So what did we think of it? Well, first things first, they retailed for about $22 and you get two of those light bulbs. You know what? That's actually right on par with other battery backup light bulbs. So no complaints there. These light bulbs come with a 2000 milliamp internal rechargeable battery that can take up to 13 hours to recharge, and that is a very long time. In my opinion, you just use them in your everyday lamp. Therefore, when you turn them on, they're charging, you turn them off, they're ready to go in case of a power outage. Funny story, I was actually testing this in a lamp in my living room and we lost power and it went from green to on. I thought, man, that is really convenient. Of course, the power came back on shortly, but I still thought it was really neat. In my testing, I was able to get 3 hours on high power, which is better than the original. I only got like 90 minutes from the original, and after about 3 hours, you couldn't really use it that much. It was still lit, but it didn't really light things up. And 6 full hours on the dim mode, and that is pretty impressive as well. In my previous review of these light bulbs, people asked, can I just charge them up and put them away in the closet and use them only in the event of a power outage? Well, I actually charged this one a week ago and have not had it plugged back into a fixture, and look, it still works. But I have no idea how much charge this thing actually has. And that brings me back to my one question: how come there's not an external indicator? I think that would be a huge game changer. Anyway, that was my full review of the upgraded Jackonlux rechargeable emergency batteries. If this is something that interests you, I will leave a link down in the description. This is Jeff with Jeff Reviews for You. As always, thanks for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day. I should say, even if the power goes out when they're still charging and not green, they will still light up. I really do appreciate that you stayed around for my entire review on the theme of emergency preparedness. Not that long ago, I actually reviewed the Jackery Explorer 240 and solar panels. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna link that review right up here, and I would love it if you would click on this link. And when you do, by the magic of the internet, I'm gonna join you at this review. So go ahead, click it. It's safe, I promise.